Hello and welcome to the 3-minute guide to synthsounds. First of all, I want to say that I support the defenders of Ukraine. Today we will do something interesting, I think. I did a previous video on the Property 5's polymod section, and then I had some limitations. I sort of had the same frequency for both oscillators. Now we're going to do something more complex. We're going to use different ratios here. We're going to use both pulse width and filter as a destination for the polymod. This patch is so complex, so I can't really build it up from just a sawtooth and make it sound exactly the same. So I would rather sort of go through how it's sort of constructed. So I would start by basically disabling a lot of the modulation that's going on here. The property is very handy. You can just basically depress the switches here and you will turn off all the modulation. We can also check how the filter is set. As you notice, the filter is set with the maximum resonance and the filter tracking is full here. So all you're hearing now is basically the filter. Some envelope with a 0 decay. If we set it to the other filter, the SSM filter, or the SEM filter, doesn't matter that much so far, but if we use the modulation, it will actually be different depending on the filter, and we will show that later. Right now, there's just one oscillator active now. We will also use Oscillator B, not only for modulation, but it will be set to the triangle wave, so it will be quite subdued. So basically this sound right now is just a very resonant filter, as you can see. Being hit by a pulse here. If we disable the pulse, and we set the pulse on, then we add the triangle waveform here. Now we can look a bit at the frequency. This is the frequency setting right now. If I grab hold of the knob here, it's set to C2. Which is quite nice because C2 is like if you want something tunable, it's good to have it as something recognizable, like the C is where it's supposed to be. However, as soon as we start the FM modulation, it will not be where it's supposed to be. So if you want to use these type of heavy polymod patches in music, you will actually have to tune them, so to speak, by sort of changing both of these pitches. The relative position between the frequencies need to be the same. You need to move them where you want to have them on the keyboard. I usually don't care where they are. I just play where it sounds nice, even if it's an A is not an A, so to speak. So oscillator A is set to C2. Oscillator B, however, is set to F3. So it's like an inharmonic interval to oscillator A. You can't hear it that much since we just have the triangle wave on. A bit, but if we would take a waveform with more amplitude, sort of a bell-like tone, but we still don't have any modulation on. Remember that. The first thing we do is we can have some simple pulse width modulation going on. We enable the triangle waveform. So now there's no movement. Now there's movement. There are so many interesting patches just by changing these settings now, the frequencies here. And now for the filter FM and the pulse width FM. We start by, as you can see, the oscillator B here. This is of course any changes of this will alter the sound quite a lot. We start by having it set to, I think it's set to close to 5, 4.5-ish. So we set it to modulate, for oscillator B, to modulate oscillator A's pulse width, like so. Sounds pretty damn cool, I think. Even, I shouldn't say this about my own patches, but anyway. I'm sure there's plenty of patches sounding very similar to this one that other people have made. And if we remove the pulse width modulation and then we select the filter modulation instead. You see what's happening in there? It had this harsh quality. So basically we're almost there, right? If we engage these at the same time, we just lower the release a bit. So we deconstruct it again. We remove all the modulations. And it's just an out of tune resonating filter with oscillators at different pitch. So we engage the modulations. We can also change the filter, and I will show you how this is actually affected. It's mostly affected, of course, by the FM here, filter FM. So if we set it to, we can play first. Then we change it to 1, 2. As you notice, it sounds a lot rougher with the SSM filter, the Rev 1, 2 filter. Which is interesting in its own, of course. But right now we want to have some more control. I'm not sure why it behaves like it does, but I guess it's inherent in the design of the filters. Of course, the biggest changes here to this, if you want to change the sound, is to use the frequency here. We can lower the depth. This is one of my favorite sounds, using filter FM and FM of the pulse width. I think I leave it there. That's it for today. If you want to, of course, experiment more with frequency modulation with the polymod section, as always, remember it's the relationship between the frequencies and the depth of the modulation here that really makes a huge difference. If you play around with these free controls, you can get all sort of uncontrolled mayhem. The trick is setting these frequencies exactly right so you get some harmonies. Okay, thank you very much for today. I think that's all for me. Have a really nice day and take care of each other.